Okay, Blake, welcome. All right, so I probably didn't make it very clear, but this is actually the second report. I think I mentioned it to you briefly the other day that I was actually going to do this in two sections. The very first section the very first report that I gave you, I was looking at the patterns of your business, specifically the selling, obviously looking at the sales history. And if you remember, there were some business questions you had in there that there wasn't sufficient data for us to do anything with. So that part hasn't changed. But in the second part, I'm looking at predictions. So hence this report is patterns and predictions. The other thing that I did here was when you gave me that awesome feedback about gee, Grant, this is so dang nerdy. You got to raise it up a level. And I totally recognize that. I've been focusing so much on, I got to make sure that what it is I'm providing is beneficial and useful. But also, I've started stepping back and telling a broader story, right? The vision that you talked about, right? What does that look like? So I prepared some charts on that as well. So this deck actually has me telling some of the story, hopefully telling people about a little bit about the vision of what this is, and then hopefully they buy into it. So I'm actually practicing two things here with you. One, practicing telling the broader vision, and then second, actually telling you, giving you actually two summaries. Summary of your patterns, I've created that at a higher level view, and now also a summary of your predictions, for things to do and not to do, and the kind of net profit around that. So without further ado, let me start telling maybe the story itself. It starts or begins with your business gathering a lot of information. And this is you. This is Blake Newbar, man. You are on the internet and you are transacting business and you're getting money for it. And each time you do that, you're getting one of these little pieces of information represented there as the dollar sign, right? And over time, of course, this starts building a mountain of data. You start getting a lot of that information. But what it turns out is that your data, of course, has secrets and insights in it. But the challenge is they're difficult to find. It's hard to find those secrets. They're generally hidden and they're unstructured, and they're so big for the human brain to get wrapped around that it's hard for us to find it. Now, of course, what we know is that companies that find and use their data insights tend to see at least two outcomes. One of those is their resources get used more effectively, and the other is they tend to grow their business. And examples of these, right? Organizations like Facebook and Google, right? Obviously, those are the well-known ones. Netflix does that, right? Every time you go and you look at a movie or what you search on, etc. Ultimately, creating a personalized experience. Well, in a similar manner, small to medium business owners such as yourself, those same kind of secrets are down inside of your business data. And of course, that's what we're looking to do, is to harvest those. And so part of the harvesting, sometimes we talk about those data insights as oil, right? Because it tends to, when you use oil, right, it'll reduce your inefficiencies because you're getting energy, and it will fuel growth. And so we'll refer to these. I just had to get some animation in here, right? Just look how cool. You see that? How cool those little oil barrels were flying in there. So sometimes it's harvesting the oil and it's just below the surface, whereas other oil is deeper down. And so we have to work more to get it. So it depends. So there's no one common theme. Some of it's really easy to access and some of it's harder. These were, of course, your business questions. You're obviously very familiar with those. And as I'd mentioned earlier, there wasn't any data to help me know if someone was male or female. And there's also a challenge around the type of person, right, in terms of the payment history there. There's in terms of the type of person that's buying, I should say. Now, over time, I think we can address a few things on that. And I'll have another conversation with you at some point on that. So who does this? So I've started working with more and more companies, and obviously entrepreneurs, business owners like yourself, marketers, and so forth. And of course, I've done this with very large companies who have massive teams. And so that brings me to this next point, which is you could do this yourself. And if you're going to do it, You got to prepare your business questions and your data, kind of like what you and I went through. But you need to hire your own artificial intelligence development team, right? And then you're going to implement their AI solution to ultimately find your oil, right? So you got those 3 steps. Now, I remember the first time I watched Russell Brunson do this pitch on ClickFunnels itself, right? And he was like, you could go build your own ClickFunnels tool and you're going to have to hire your development team and all this, right? And he built up this number. I did the same thing. I went off and I said, well, you're going to need a data engineer and a data scientist and a business analyst, and here's what their salaries look like. And then you're going to need down there on number 4, you're going to need to purchase an AI technology platform, yada, yada, yada. A lot of costs, right? So this is the painful, expensive, slow way. This first part is the expensive way. The second piece is the slow way. So it takes a long time for those teams then to build up enough energy and inertia to clean the data, to go through all of the predictions, to map those predictions into your business processes, and then, of course, to apply their AI technology platform. So it's slow, right? It's weeks to months. So I thought, I'm going to show this to you one more level of detail, right? If I haven't scared you enough, I just want to scare you one more way. So here are the steps that an organization goes through to do AI. One, it's determining the business questions, right? And this is what you and I started with, like, how can I lower refunds, or when's the best time to promote? When that happens, then an organization goes off and cleans your data. So they build predictor and target variables. I just had to throw some nerdiness in there, right? And so it's building up all this data structure, and then it's selecting some artificial intelligence algorithms. And there's a bunch out there: linear regression and random forest, and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, right? There's a lot there. And then you execute those over and over again, hundreds and thousands of times across the data, and ultimately enough that you start building up patterns. And those patterns then start to say, well, okay, maybe there's some better patterns and predictions than others. And so you identify what those are. And then ultimately, then it gets into your hands, right? Which is that little report, which is what this represents, right? Is the report for that. So, right? Hard, painful, difficult, slow, lots of heavy lifting to do that. Or you could use Click AI, and I'm thankful to you for doing that. So obviously, why? Well, you know, developing your own AI solutions, expensive, slow, and time consuming. And number 2, you need some simple actionable steps based on your oil to continue to build your business. And so I'm working on number 2 there, of course, to make it even more simple and more actionable for you. So I want to show you some of that in this report. So here's the simple way to transform your business, right? And that's what you and I have been going through. Number 1, you handed me your business questions, your sales information. And then we took that orange box and we went and we did that. Walked through all those steps, did it multiple times to produce patterns and predictions. And then here we are at step 2, which is we're handing you, here's some insights, some predictions, and some patterns from your oil, from your business, some actionable things to go do. Now, over time, what we're going to do is we're going to notify you of this, right? We're going to indicate, hey, here's some things that now you should consider doing at this point in time. Some of the actions are based on timelines, whereas others are things that you do on a regular basis. So again, as a reminder, here's what's going on inside the box. Lots of code, lots of nerdiness. We obviously want to take that from you. So you might ask yourself, okay, let's say I want to do this grant. How much time do I need to give in order to do this? Well, it turns out that there's 2 steps which you've been experiencing. The first step is you're going to create a draft of those business questions, and then you're going to export some set of your sales information. And then the second sort of major interaction, which this starts to represent, is you're going to review this video, right? And then there will likely be some Q&A, some conversations, questions around what it is that we've produced. So the intent is to keep your time interaction low, whereas hopefully you get high value output from this. And of course, as you know, our ask to you was, we'd like to do this for you at 0 cost to you, which is of course something you and I have already talked about. So our ask is 3 pieces. 1, Share your business questions and sales information safely with us under NDA. And I just want to reiterate that I'm not going to be marketing to people on your list or anything like that. I will not do that. So you and I are under NDA. Number two, I'm giving you this report of insights and some next steps, things to go after to improve your already powerful business. And then three, as I already mentioned, we'll send you some reminders of when to do certain things. What I'm really asking, the real question I'm asking you is, I really want to help you build on your results, right? So this is about me making a difference. And then as you and I talked, I want to get a testimonial from you, a video testimonial or several forms of that. And as you and I talked the other day briefly, of course, I want to ask you to speak at my virtual summit that'll be coming up. I think that would just be totally awesome. Okay, that's it. Let's move on to your patterns and predictions. All right, so I'd already given you a brief, very detailed, I shouldn't say brief, it was a very detailed report on your patterns. And so what I have done in this report is I've rolled those up, okay? Now, patterns focus on historical activities, right? They're just saying, here over time, here's been the behaviors that have produced the better results and those that have produced the worst results. All right, so the AI engines look at that across tons and tons of algorithms. And then looking forward, it's the predictions. Now, of course, the predictions look at the patterns, right? But then we turn it, and we say, our prediction and the area that I focused on specifically was around making more money, okay, for the predictions. Now, on the pattern side, I spent more time on how do I reduce refunds, right? Some of that fed into the predictions though. But with the predictions, I specifically focused on, I want to increase your net profit. And so in the sales material that you sent, you had multiple columns. Some was on revenue and base price and things like that, which are interesting. But at the end of the day, I want to build how much money you're retaining, you're keeping in your pocket. All right. So I focused on net profit. What that means is that in some of the predictions, it will include the use of affiliates. But for the most part, it will look at other areas as well. Okay. All right. So these are looking forward statements. So stepping back here just briefly. Here we've got, let me get this out of the way, my picture out of the way. Okay. So these are the patterns to address. Now, you and I looked at this briefly, but this is a slightly different view of it, right? So in the first step here, for the patterns to address, all right, promoting at least 7 days before each holiday using the Brian Page webinar, the patterns suggest high probability of effectiveness and success with low refunds, all right? And so, of course, we got Labor Day and Veterans Day and Thanksgiving coming up. So that's the first main pattern. The second main pattern is in September, which was kind of shocking to me, but in September, sell the Blake's Partner Program, right? Australia has the lower refunds. Again, some of it has to do with the data set that you shared, but the key point is that there was a strong enough set of correlations and causations found in the AI across hundreds of AI algorithms that all concurred with each other. I won't go into all the details on it, but there's enough concurrence across a lot of AI algorithms that selling that particular program, and in this case, in the month of September, had really low refunds, high probability of success. All right, and then the third area here is each month consider the following things, right? And you and I talked about this. So I saw lots of evidence of increasing the amount that you charge for your products. There's a direct correlation to that and lowering your refunds. Then there's these affiliate activities. You know, have Brian Proctor, I looked him up. He looks like a pretty charming guy. Have him sell to Florida buyers. I see why now. I didn't know him beforehand. When you use an affiliate, set their revenue amount to $497 or higher. There's direct correlation that when the affiliate amount was lower, your refunds went up, right? And that, of course, reinforces this need for increasing your amount overall. For whatever reason, don't have Jeremy Gillison use payment plans because the refunds shoot up. Okay, so those are affiliate activities. You know, you work on those every month. And then landing page activities, avoid, of course, this order form landing page with the SMLM partner program. It has higher refunds. Okay, so in summary, for the next few months, those are three main sections, three main areas to focus on as it relates to patterns. All right, now let me shift over to predictions. So the predictions are broken up into sort of two main categories. There are predictions to increase good things, and so I put a big green triangle there on the bottom right. Do more of these behaviors, okay? So again, I told you my focus is I looked at how could we get more money into your hands, right? And the first one is this was the highest net profit prediction, all right? And so it is predicting 997 to 1400 and beyond, all right? So this will generate higher net profits. I'm not talking revenue, I'm talking net profits, of course. And this was over 100 predictions that stated sell Blake's partner program without payments, and then consider the following things. Don't use affiliates for a price. In other words, don't sell this with affiliates, I should say. And of course, don't sell it lower than $9.97. It's going to be hard to make $9.97 if you sell it for lower than $9.97. Although if you can do that, man, you've got a secret, right? All right. The other is when you sell the Blake Partner Program without payments and without affiliates, the predictions are, over 100 predictions stated that it would also produce a very low number of refunds. So that's really awesome news, okay? So there's a key secret recipe. There was a correlation with holidays that selling this during holidays starts 7 days or more before. And this is kind of a quirky thing, right? But when the customer's weather is cloudy or rainy on that holiday, it improves profitability. So I know you got, you're mentioning, I don't know if marketers will do this, but you may want to keep an eye on weather patterns when the next, holiday comes, and find those areas where there's, lots of cloudy or stormy weather on a holiday, and then just pour a bunch of advertising into that location over the holiday. The profitability goes up. Okay, here's the second prediction, all right? Now, this is a moderate one, so the net profit isn't as high, but it's still interesting, right? And so it's 748 and beyond. There were over 50 predictions that stated this, that lined up with this. The idea here, or what it's predicting, is sell products for 1,400 plus, use affiliates, but no payment plan. And that will produce not only this net profit of 748 and beyond, but will also produce a low number of refunds. All right, so that's a very interesting sort of combination. Still very profitable, obviously not as much as the first one, but it's money on the table we don't want to leave behind, right? Okay, so that's the first chart. These are behaviors we want to do more of, all right, in terms of predictions. All right, now here's some predictions to lower refunds, all right? So again, I had predictions to increase net profit. Here's predictions to lower refunds. And this came at an 85% probability. And it was to work with and leverage the affiliate, Brian Page. And so the idea is working with Brian to sell for $9.97 or more into those locations: the US, Canada, Australia, UK, Netherlands, Spain. High 85% probability that refunds will lower using Brian Page selling for that price into those locations. And then here's the second one, which is 86% probability. Here it's selling the product social media lead machine partners and selling that near, now in this case it was near MLK in the US without affiliates. Okay, now I don't know that I don't recall having too many other holidays, right, that it could extrapolate. I think there's a couple others actually, and I think about it, but specifically it was talking about this one in particular. Okay, so high probability of low refunds, selling that product into that location, without affiliates. Okay, all right, now let's shift and let's talk about predictions to reduce your net profit. And you're like, Grant, why would you tell me about reducing? Because I'm going to tell you what not to do, okay? And so these would be anti-patterns, right? This would be behaviors. And so, of course, I want to walk through it to say, if you are doing these, spend less time and effort. Some of these I'm sure you know empirically already. But the first one is you will lower your net profit. So I call this a lower net profit prediction. It's predicting you'll get net profit $498, but with low refunds. So it's not bad, but when you compare it to the others, it's certainly not as good. Okay, so it's still got low refunds, right? You got 498. There was over 900 predictions that stated this one, right? So it's still decent business, right? But comparatively speaking, not as good as the others. So again, you'll sell products. You're going to use payments with a price point of 1. And when you do that, then your net profit will be at $498. Okay, now it didn't state whether or not it was with affiliates, but my gut says that this would be with an affiliate. All right. So again, when I talk about artificial intelligence, lots of times I like to talk about it more as intelligence augmentation. So you got to use your brain with this as well. Here's the lowest net profit prediction. Right, the AI is predicting $298 of net profit, and about half of those will translate into refunds. And I'm sure you know what that recipe is. Well, there's over 500 predictions on this, so the AI, all the algorithms really aligned with this. It's to sell your Blake Partners program. Again, that's one of your highest potential growth, predictive growth areas. Now, here we are, we're selling that same thing, but we're doing it with an affiliate revenue that's set at $298, and then your net profit's $298. So it looked at a bunch of these and said, don't obviously sell in this area. Your refunds go up, your net profit goes down. That is the behavior to stop doing. Okay, all right. So I know I went through quite a bit there. This last section, I won't talk through this because as the little Legos picture shows, if we lean over and look into these details, unless it's Friday or Saturday night and you got nothing to do, right? So this is just some lower level details in this section right here that, you're certainly welcome to look through. I will be sending you the PDF of this report. Look forward to any questions from you. And thanks again for the opportunity to build this out and for your feedback. Looking forward to any comments that you have. Blake, thanks for your time.